Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the AUIS Podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking about American universities. And what better university is there to talk about than Harvard for this subject? For this, we have brought to you Dalal, who is a Kurdish girl who is studying at Harvard University. Welcome, Dalal.
Thank you.
To kick things off, we want to know a little bit more about you. So, what are you planning to study and why?
Hi, I'm Dalal. I just finished my first year at Harvard. And I'm currently thinking about studying social studies, with a minor in ethnicity and migration rights. Social studies is a very interdisciplinary major at Harvard, because I have so many different interests in history, anthropology.
Right.
I'm able to take different classes in these different fields and have them count for my social studies degree. And I'm actually able to create my own focus field within social studies. So if I want to, something I'm really passionate about is like Kurdish resistance movements. I can create that as my focus field, which is a very special aspect of social studies. And the minor in ethnicity and migration rights is the closest thing we have to an ethnic studies department. So I'm really passionate about that, which is why I'm
Cool, really. In AUIS, we have international studies and international relations instead of social sciences. Do you have these majors at Harvard?
We don't have international relations. We have government, which is a very, very popular major at Harvard. Economics is very popular. There's sociology and, like I mentioned, social studies. But international relations or political science, we don't have those at Harvard.
So, what motivated you to go to international studies and especially at a university like Harvard?
Yeah, I am really passionate about, like I mentioned before, Kurdish resistance movements and also resistance movements across the Middle East, Palestinian liberation, and anti-colonial movements around the world. And I really want to be able to, delve deeper into that in college. And, as I was looking through the course catalog at Harvard and looking at the different departments, that was something I was really able to delve into, which really attracted me to the school. And I think also with like extracurriculars and stuff, I'm able to be involved in student activism and like through writing as well. So there are a lot of different opportunities for me to explore the different subjects that I want to study within social studies and also at Harvard.
So, what I'm getting from this is that you decided on your own major. Yes. So, there wasn't any external influence in the
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah. No, I'm very thankful that my parents allow me to explore any like field of study that I want because they really want me to be passionate about what I'm studying. They don't want to pressure me into a specific major. Like they don't want to pressure me to be a doctor or an engineer. Even though, that might be attractive to that might be something that they want me to do that might be attractive to employers or something like that. My parents really want me to be passionate about what I'm studying, because why get an education
Exactly.
like at a university like Harvard if or at all if you're not passionate about what you're studying and you're devoting so much time to this field of study. You want to look forward to your classes. You want to look forward to learning about the different things that you're studying. So I think that's something that I'm really grateful for, that my parents have allowed me to have this freedom, explore what I want.
Yeah, that's really cool. Before recording this episode, I was talking with one of the faculty members about this episode, and he mentioned a story of his. When he was a kid, he was living in Germany, and he had a German language course there that he was studying. And at the final day of his course, the professor asked the students, "What do you want to become?" And half of the class was Middle Eastern, Arab, and Kurd. Actually, he said 99% to be accurate. And when the professor asked the students, "What do you want to become?" almost all of them said, "We want to become either engineers or doctors." And he mentioned that this is a Middle Eastern thing, that the parents influence this decision of the children. And he said a real nice thing at the end. He said that his professor asked them a question that they couldn't answer at the end. And he said, "Do you want to become a bad doctor that nobody knows, or do you want to become a good bakerist? Do you want to be successful at the thing that you're passionate about?" So what I was really interested about were what you said about the major decision thing that your parents don't influence you. Is that more of an American thing, or was it like how did your parents give you that decision? Because most of my friends, if they hear you right now, they're gonna be like, why don't I get this decision in my country?
Yeah, I think I think it's definitely more common in America, but I do have a lot of friends at university who also feel this pressure from their parents to be pre-med or study engineering, computer science, whatever it may be. And I think I want to emphasize that I really do understand this like desire for your children to have like a very stable future. And I think especially, in the Middle East, like there has been a lot of instability and a lot of uncertainty. And I think it's very valid for our parents to want us to be
Right.
successful and want to make sure that we have the best future we possibly can, even if that means they interfere a lot. But I think having conversations like these is very important because, it allows us to understand that, if you're not passionate about what you're studying, why do it? Because like you said, if
Yes.
you're going to, do you want to be a bad doctor or do you want to be a good artist, for example? And I think when you're really passionate about what you're doing, you're going to put as much work as possible into it. And I think good results will come in the end. I think that's something my parents have really noticed. Like I'm really passionate about writing and, for a very long time, I wanted to study English or literature. And, there is a lot of uncertainty that comes with majors like that. But because I really enjoyed it, I wrote so much and, got a lot of articles published. And I think that, after my parents saw that it was my passion that allowed these good things, these really good outcomes to happen, they realized that this freedom and this, support is really important. And of course, they give their opinions on a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we have our conversations, but it's my choice, which is
It's your choice. But I believe that you haven't yet declared your major at Harvard, yes?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I have until December of my sophomore year. So this coming December, I declare my major. And even afterwards, I'm able to change it until I start the senior thesis process. Before before the second half of my junior year, I want to say, is a little too late to change my major, but a lot of flexibility.
So your third semester is going to be during this December, right?
Yeah, I'm starting my third semester in September.
In September, and you have to decide your major by the end of your third semester, which is at December, right?
Yes.
Yes. At AUIS, we have the same thing also. If you want to declare a major, you get to have a lot of free time, have 3 semesters prior to that decision, so you don't end up with a major that you don't like. And like most of the other universities in Iraq and the Middle East, where you have to declare a major once you enroll into a university. But here, like Harvard, we get to decide what major we want to get in at the end of the third semester, just like you guys, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And one other thing, at Harvard, I believe you don't call majors. You have a special name for them,
Yes.
concentrations.
We have concentrations. And for minors, we call them secondaries.
Secondary.
We have a lot of
Yeah,
unique vocab, which is very funny. But yeah, concentrations and secondaries.
concentrations. At AUIS, concentrations are a totally different thing. They're like a minor, but they're for minors that are related to your own major. So a student who studies IT, if they want to take a minor in IT, they'll be taking a concentration in IT instead of taking a minor. But
Oh.
I believe you guys don't have that. You only have minors, which are secondaries.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, and you can only do one secondary.
and you can only do one secondary. Here also, no. Here we have 2 secondaries, so you don't 2 minors. Okay, we have 2 minors, so you can do 2 minors. And we also have core courses, which I believe you call curriculum courses, right?
Yes, we have our Harvard
courses,
College
yeah.
curriculum, and within that, there's the general education requirements and the divisional distribution requirements.
Divisional distribution requirement. Can you talk more about these courses?
Yeah, of course. So for general education, there are 4 categories. At the top of my head, I know there's science and technology and society. There's ethics and civics, aesthetics and culture, stuff like that. So you have to take one course in each category. For example, for me, I took one general education course this past year. It was called The History of Borders, and that fulfilled my ethics and civics requirement. And you're able to spread these out over your 4 years. For the divisional distribution requirement, there are a few different requirements. So there's a quantitative reasoning and data requirement. So kind of like a math class, but there's so many different courses that can fulfill this course, fulfill this requirement, sorry. And a lot of them aren't even math classes, so you're technically fulfilling the math requirement without taking a math class, which I personally really love as someone who isn't as passionate about math. And yeah, you can spread these out over your 4 years. And then there's also expository writing, which is a mandatory writing class for all first years at Harvard. There's expository writing 10, which is for people who, need a little bit more support with, adjusting to college level writing. And there's expository writing 20, which has like a wide variety of different topics you can pick from. And mine was humans, nature, and the environment. So we focused on improving our college level writing, but while exploring different like literatures and academic writing in regarding humans, nature, and the environment, which was really interesting.
Student club activities at Harvard, what are they like?
They're amazing. I absolutely love, the extracurricular life at Harvard. For me personally, I'm involved in the Harvard Crimson. Specifically, I'm a member of the editorial board, which means that, I help out with like writing for the opinion section, and the editorial board also votes on staff eds, which are articles that the editorial board writes together, expressing a certain opinion about about a certain subject. And that's something I was just elected to, but I have written for the Crimson before, which has been something that I'm really grateful to have been a part of. And I'm also involved in a lot of student activism, the Palestine Solidarity Committee. I've organized a few protests, for the Kurdish movement, and Harvard also has like a student labor action movement, a lot of like activism, community organizing, which I absolutely love. And yeah, a lot of writing. And I'm also, this coming year, I'm going to be an intern for the Harvard College Women's Center. So there are a lot of opportunities like that. I know the Harvard Foundation, which is an organization for first-generation low-income students, has a really great internship program. There's the Institute of Politics for people who are interested in that, and so many different programs. So a lot of stuff to be involved in, which is great. Really, always happy to be part of that.
Do you have other newspapers that are run and organized by students?
Yes, we have we have so many. We have the Harvard Advocate, which is the literary magazine. We have the Independent, which is another newspaper. The Harvard Political Review, which is a part of the Institute of Politics. The International Review. There's a few literary magazines. There's even like a fashion magazine, which is really interesting. A lot of publications.
Yeah, we also have a magazine and newspaper in this podcast here at AUIS. They're all run by students. The magazine is called Atlas, and the newspaper is called AUIS Voice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. What about the clubs there? So are they run completely by students? Do students get to start their own clubs, or are they older clubs? Like I believe the Crimson newspaper is an old newspaper where the board is changed every now and then.
Yeah. Almost all of the organizations at Harvard are run by students, which is awesome. The Crimson is very, very old. And yeah, new members are elected every year. For a lot of organizations at Harvard, there's a comp process, which is like the process of trying out for different clubs. A lot of application processes for different clubs. Like for the Crimson, it was completion based. So as long as you like write your articles and do the things you have to do, you're in, which is great. A lot of other clubs are like more competitive, but which I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but because, I think as many people as possible should be involved in these things. But yeah, almost all organizations at Harvard are run by students.
Mm-hmm. The liberal arts system at Harvard is very similar to the one at AUIS and the other Iraqi universities. And when students finish their high school year, they don't know about the liberal arts system, which is not available in the other universities. So can you talk more about that? What's like?
Yeah, the liberal arts system is really, really great because when you apply to these universities, you can mention that you're interested in a specific field of study, but you're not committed to that field of study. You can try out many different classes in different fields, and then you have some time before declaring your major, and you can take classes in humanities, social science, math, a lot of different options in order for you to get, a really good idea of what you want. And there's a lot of like flexibility within the liberal arts system. And I think that's really, really important because like we said, you probably don't know exactly what you want when you're first applying to college. And I think after trying these courses and trying different, pursuing different academic interests, and after some time, you're able to really get a good idea of what you want. And I think that's a really special part of the liberal arts system.
Mm-hmm. So what about the culture in the U.S. when students finish high school? Do they go straight to college or do they take a gap year? Here, you finish high school, 99% of the time, just go to university, even if you don't like the major that you're studying, which in AUIS you can declare it after trying the other courses and the other majors because it's a liberal arts school where you can, just like you said, get a taste of what the other majors are like. So do you have this gap year or is it not a culture in the United States?
Yeah, so for me, most of the people I know went straight to college, but a few people that I have met at Harvard took a gap year. And I think I think a lot of them have had really, really good experiences with it. A lot of them volunteered at different places, had internships, had jobs, traveled. And I think it's a really good, I think in a way that's also a learning opportunity before university because you're able to, experience the world if you have the money to do so and really get an idea of what it is you want to do. And I think that's really special. And I think there shouldn't be a stigma around it. And I think, for those who want to pursue a gap year, from the people I've heard about, the people I've met who have taken a gap year, they've absolutely enjoyed it and they got a lot out of it. And if you're able to, and if you have the means to do so and you want to, why not?
Yeah, so the liberal arts school system and taking a gap year would be a very good decision for youngsters before they decide what major or concentration they want to pursue.
Yeah, if you, have the stability to do so and you have the resources and, you feel comfortable in that decision, then yeah, it's a good idea.
So what is the life of a student at Harvard like?
Yeah, so all students for the first 2 years at least live on campus. So it's a very tight-knit community. For first years, you live in the yard. So a lot of buildings that are very close to each other. So you're running into your friends all the time, which is really nice. So you go to class if you have class that day, and maybe extracurriculars, and perhaps go to the dining hall. Annenberg is the first year dining hall, and it's so beautiful. A lot of people say that it looks like the hall from Harry Potter, which is really funny. It is very beautiful. So go to the dining hall, or there are a lot of restaurants in the square, in Harvard Square. A lot of coffee shops, a lot of nice places to study. There's the Smith Campus Center, which is a student center. Actually, when I was walking through AUIS, it reminded me a lot of, the cafeteria area reminded me a lot of Smith. So there's the student center where you're able to study. There are a few restaurants, which is really nice. And then maybe, if it's a weekend, go into Boston. Boston is like a 20-minute train ride from Harvard Square, and there's a train station right in Harvard Square. It was literally like 2 minutes away from my dorm, which is really nice. A lot of people like to go into Boston or like nearby places in Cambridge. And we live very close to the Charles River, and that's a really nice place to have picnics or go for a walk, go for a run, bike. A lot of things to do. There are multiple gyms on campus. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's interesting. We also have some of this stuff at AUIS too. We have the Magma Square, which is right next to us. So we also have our cafeteria, which you mentioned that reminded you of Harvard also. We also have the bicycles and other activities where students can participate in. But what about academia? How do you study on a daily basis?
Yeah. So for me, I take a lot of humanities courses, so a lot of essay writing, and I like this past year I took my Arabic class. Actually, this next coming year, I'll be taking Arabic and Kurdish, which is really exciting. But yeah, I took one language class and then 3 like humanities, social science classes. So a lot of essay writing. So depending on what I have to do for the day, would probably, work on my Arabic homework. Arabic is usually every single day. Language classes are usually like that at Harvard. So I would work on my language homework and then maybe work on my essay. There's the Writing Center, which is a really good resource for students who want to get help on their essays and, a lot of help with writing and feedback. Like a lot of the people there are actually students who like were hired to work at the Writing Center. And they'll like read your essay and leave you comments, and it's a really great resource. Or, there's office hours. A lot of teachers are very accessible at Harvard. You can make an appointment with them and like have one-on-one conversations with them about maybe something you're struggling with. And a lot of professors who teach really big classes have teaching fellows or teaching assistants. So even if you're not able to have an appointment with the professor, you can have an appointment with the teaching fellow, which is really good. So yeah, I'll probably be working on an essay at the student center, a cafe, or getting, help in my writing from a professor or at the Writing Center.
So you get help from the other students. Your community is built to be like that, right?
Yeah, it's a really good it's a really good environment because a lot of people are very supportive with each other. Obviously there are flaws in every single community, but I think a lot of the people I've surrounded myself with have been really supportive, and a lot of us study in groups, which is really nice. Like a really like engaging environment that like motivates you to study. A lot of times when I like get distracted by myself, I like study in a big group of people, and we're all like feeling motivated and help each other out.
Yeah, that's really great. We also have similar studying centers for students who want to study in groups here too. What about tutoring? Do you have tutoring for almost every course or almost every major there?
Yeah, we do. We have our like math resource center. We have, like I mentioned, the writing center, tutors in almost every single course. A lot of students are hired, and like it's a very rigorous application process. So these students like really know what they're doing. So yeah, and there's also office hours, which is helpful.
Yeah. What about the semesters? How many semesters does a student need to usually finish their degree at Harvard?
So each academic year has 2 semesters.
Right.
So if you're like on the normal track, it's usually 8 semesters
So
or
it's 8 semesters.
2, 4, 6. Yeah, 8 semesters. Sorry.
That's 8 semesters without the minors or the secondaries, right?
With the minors or secondaries.
With the minors
Yeah.
and secondaries.
Because usually people take 4 classes a semester, but you're able to take more than 4 after your first semester. So sometimes if people are pursuing like a double concentration or a joint concentration or have a minor, you might take 5 or 6 classes at once, which is really difficult. But
So you can take a double major degree and still finish it within the 8 semesters that you're given, right?
yes. I'm actually thinking about doing a double concentration. A lot of people at Harvard don't really like study one concentration. A lot of them have a joint concentration. And usually the difference between joint and double concentrations is that with a joint concentration, when you write your senior thesis, both fields of study have to be included in it. But with a double concentration, you can rely on one field of study for your senior thesis.
That's really interesting. So you don't need to take winter and summer courses there at Harvard to finish earlier.
I think it's possible to do so if you want to, but I know they have a graduation ceremony in the winter, but a lot of people, try not to do that because they want to graduate, in the spring with everyone else. But yeah, you can still graduate on track while having a minor or a double major.
Yeah, at AUIS here, most of the students try to take winter or summer as much as they can. They try to do overload, or if their GPA allows them to finish their degree as soon as possible. You mentioned that usually take 4 classes per semester, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to make it more, do you need a specific GPA to be allowed to do so, or can every student do it?
Every student can do it. A lot of my friends took 5 classes this last semester. I'm planning on taking 5 this semester.
Mm-hmm. What about probation? Do you have that there?
Yes, we
Okay.
have different processes for students who, might not be on track to pass all of their classes in a certain semester. So there's a specific process for people who are in that situation.
At AUIS, the probation process, like instead of taking 5 classes, which is the usual, you are it's mandatory to take 1 class less, so you are only allowed to take 4 because it would be easier for you to finish 4 classes than have 5 classes for the students who have a lower GPA. Is the system or any of the process of probation at Harvard similar?
It is. I know in a lot of situations, um, if someone is not on track to pass one of their classes in a certain semester, um, they might take a leave of absence for that semester. So it'll be like they weren't there for the whole semester. They didn't take classes that semester, and they'll come back and redo it the next. So yeah, but I think each situation is different, so it really depends. But usually that's the case. They might have to take a leave of absence, or they get a lot of help and a lot of communication with the professor.
Before we finish the episode, do you have any final message to tell the Kurdish region, the Iraqi region, or even the Middle Eastern region as a Harvard student?
Yeah, I think it's really great that we're having these conversations, and I think a lot of people here should think about applying to these universities. I know that it might be intimidating or, especially as an international student, it's a very, rigorous and, overwhelming process. But I think looking into Harvard's 100% need-based financial aid program is great. I think I don't want to delve too much into that because I know
It's all
we're
right.
almost done. But if you make under 65,000 US dollars, you can go for free. And a lot of people are on full financial aid, like myself, like many of my other friends. And I think that's something very special about Harvard is that they make education accessible based on your income. Obviously, it's not perfect, but I think that's something that a lot of people don't know about. So maybe looking more into that, researching more universities beyond Kurdistan or the Middle East is great. And also, I think it's really great that we're, advocating for our communities there. Like I said, there's going to be a Kurdish class at Harvard this next year. I advocated for that a lot. So that's going to be a class that's available. And, I think that a lot of the, involvement that that's taking place and a lot of, we're spreading a lot of awareness about our communities, which is awesome. And I think that, a lot more of that should be talked about. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting. You're a delightful guest. We are really
Thank
happy to
you.
have you here.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
me. I
the
really
valuable
appreciate.
information. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you are left with any unanswered questions, just contact the AUIS contacts. Thank you, Dalal, again.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in again. Have a nice day.